Hachette Audio presents Hometown Cowboy, written by Sara Richardson, read by Laurie Winkel.
Prologue. Funny how you can remember every detail about the most significant day of your life. Not the best day of your life necessarily, but the day that shaped you, the day that you were forced to find your strength. Lance Cortez wandered to the bay window in his living room and stared out at the land that had been in his family since the Spaniards had crossed the mountains into Colorado and founded the town of Topaz Falls. From his house, situated on the valley floor, it seemed like he could see every acre, from the razor edges of Topaz Mountain to the pointed tips of the evergreens that studded the steep slopes. Even in the dimness of that eerie space preceding the dawn, he could make out the stables up the hill, the bullpens across from the pasture, and the house farther on down the hill where his father still lived. The house where he'd grown up. It was a ranch style, built from the logs of those trees on the mountain, anchored by a wraparound porch. 16 years ago, before dawn, he'd stood on that porch right there and watched his mother walk out of his life. He didn't know what had woken him that day, maybe the sound of the dog barking or the door creaking, but when he'd stumbled down the hallway, he'd caught her dragging her suitcase across that old porch. "Where are you going?" he'd asked, not liking the weakness that had started to spread over his body like a dark shadow. Something in him already knew. She'd been distant for months, there but not. His mother had paused on the sidewalk at the bottom of those porch steps, but she hadn't looked at him. "I have to go away for a while," she'd said. "I can't do this anymore." He'd wanted to ask why, but couldn't. He couldn't open his mouth, couldn't unfist his hands. She was leaving them, and he wondered if it had anything to do with the underage drinking ticket he'd gotten 2 days before. At 14, he knew he was a holy terror. Or maybe it was the fact that his father was away so much, traveling to the rodeos, giving all of his time to a sport his mother hated. "I'm sorry, Lance," his mother had said. There were no tears in her eyes, but her voice caught. "I'm so sorry." That word gathered up the sadness that had weighted his bones and spun it into a whirl of anger. If she was sorry, then why was she going? "I hope you'll understand someday." He didn't. 16 years later, he had yet to understand how a mother could
Sample complete. Ready to continue?